Good morning, class. My name is Miss Wright, and I will be your history teacher for this term. It's wonderful to meet you all, and I hope that you are all excited to get to grips with history. So I am your history teacher. Okay. Seeing as it's the first day of class, we won't be going into anything too deep and too much today. I'm just going to be going over what we're going to be looking at in the coming weeks. Okay, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay, yes, and if you do wish to make notes, feel free to do so. Yeah, of course. Okay, so on everybody's desks, they should have a copy of this book. This is your book to take home with you and study from. We will be giving tests from this book, so please make sure you all study it very hard and take notes, because it will be in the tests. This is a people in history book, so we're going to be learning about people from history. We're going to be learning about kings and queens, explorers, inventors, presidents, all sorts of very important people from our history. Okay, so we all have a copy of the book. Perfect. So we're just going to simply be going over this book today and maybe having a read of some of it, but it's just going to be very brief today. Okay, so the book goes in order of the newer people in history are towards the back and the older at the front, so it goes by date, so it's it's easier to find who you're looking for when you come back to look at the book. Okay, so you can see there's lots of colourful pictures, diagrams and maps and lots of nice things to make it a little more easier to learn. Feel free, if you would like, to highlight sections of the text. That's entirely up to you. This is your book now. Yes. Okay. So we can see that it starts here at Abraham, 2000 BC. Sorry, let me just check that. I have it upside down, so it's a little difficult to see. Yes. Just want to make sure I read that correctly. Yes, even us teachers make mistakes sometimes. Okay, and it goes on. Some great characters from history. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Jesus Christ. Okay, are we all looking? Thank you. I like to make this class interesting because history is extremely interesting, but I know to some people, learning may be a bit more difficult, or everybody learns in different ways, so I want to make it as interesting as possible without making it boring. Wouldn't want anybody falling asleep now. Precisely. Okay. I have William the Conqueror. And it goes on. I'm going to skip a few pages now. We go on. And we have some English kings. We have Henry VIII, probably the most famous of them all. It goes on, and we're going to skip a little bit further to explorers. So we have Sir Francis Drake. And then we have some notorious people in history, such as Guy Fawkes. And the Pilgrim Fathers as well. Like this, I find it very interesting. In fact, I think we're going to start off today by reading about Guy Fawkes. So please open your book at page 50. Okay, I'm just going to read you this bit about Guy Fawkes and read along with me. Highlight what you like, take notes. Okay, and you can see the pictures here of Guy Fawkes. So, Guy Fawkes, 1570 to 1606. And so, Guy Fawkes was one of the conspirators in the plan to blow up the English Houses of Parliament and to kill King James I in 1605. Known as the Gunpowder Plot, Fawkes was the member of the group who was actually discovered with the barrels of gunpowder on November the 5th, 1605. James I was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, and in 1603 succeeded his cousin, Queen Elizabeth, on the throne of England. The son of a Catholic, James was brought up as a Protestant. When he became king, Catholics expected his religious policy to favour them. In fact, James maintained Elizabeth Church of England, and a number of English Catholics resolved to kill him. They decided to do this at the opening of Parliament in November 1605. So the King, Queen, Prince of Wales, and the Protestant House of Commons would all be destroyed. Simultaneously, they planned a rising in the Midlands to place Prince Charles, the King's second son, on the throne. The leader of the conspiracy was Robert Catesby, a zealous Catholic and a strong leader. The first conspirators were his cousin, Thomas Winter, Thomas Percy, John Wright, and Guy Fawkes. Fawkes was a Yorkshire gentleman and a fanatical convert to Sorry, I thought I heard somebody talking then. If you would please listen. Thank you very much. Okay, where were we then, class? I lost my place now, thank you. Okay. The plotters hired a house next to the Parliament buildings in May 1604 and dug a passage under the House of Lords from its cellar. In March 1605, they were able to rent the cellar directly under the Palace of Westminster and joined the two. Fawkes arranged the storage of 20 barrels of gunpowder there, with iron bars on top for a greater impact. They were hidden beneath firewood and coal and tended by Fawkes under the name of John Johnson. More conspirators had been introduced, and one Francis Treason gave the plot away by sending a warning to his cousin to stay away from Parliament. Showed the note to Lord Salisbury, the King's chief minister, and on November the 4th, 1605, the buildings were searched twice. On the first occasion, the Beefeaters discovered Fawkes with his woodpile. A further search was made by suspicious guards at 11 at night. They found the gunpowder, and arrested Fawkes, the only plotter present. Casby and the other 3 died resisting arrest. The others, including Fawkes, were tried on January the 22nd, 1606 and executed. Parliament named November the 5th as a day of national thanksgiving. Since the 19th century, the celebrations have taken a more rowdy form, with fireworks and the burning on bonfires of effigies of Fawkes called guys. So that's quite interesting, don't you think, class? We're all familiar with bonfire night, as we call it. Some people got fireworks night, bonfire night, but that's where it all began, was with the celebration of capturing Guy Fawkes and the plotters. So that's a very interesting thing. Okay, so we have a thing about the English Revolution, Oliver Cromwell, Sir Isaac Newton. In fact, one of my favourites, and I'm not entirely sure. Let me see. I can find it and I'll read it to you. It's one of my favourite ones. Let's see. Here we go. Joan of Arc. If you can see that, children, the pictures depicting Joan of Arc's death. Okay, let's have a read now. Joan of Arc was a peasant girl and a saint who received French fortunes in the 100 Years' War. She was burnt by the English as a witch. Joan was a shepherd girl living near Champagne in eastern France. At the age of 13, she heard angels' voices calling to her, and from then until the end of her life, she claimed she was regularly visited by Saint Michael, Catherine, and Margaret, the patron saints of France. Her voices directed her to go to the French king and help him in his war with the English. When she finally succeeded in 1429 in gaining admittance to the king's presence, he changed places with one of his courtiers, but she recognized the king immediately. Charles, his nobles and bishops were sceptical of the young girl's claims that she was sent to lead the French to victory. However, the situation was desperate. Charles had never been crowned and had difficulty convincing himself, let alone the French people, that he was the rightful king. Half of France, including Paris, was occupied by the English, who claimed their king was King of France. The great city of Orleans had been besieged for many months. In desperation, Joan was given her chance. Equipped with a man's armour and a sword found, she wrought a miracle, changing France's fortunes, leading the armies in person and breathing courage into Charles and his soldiers. She raised the siege of Orleans and destroyed the English reputation. In July 1429, Joan took Charles to Reims and saw him crowned. She knelt before him and called him king for the first time. Joan was now the idol of France. She led the French against Paris, taunting the English openly to come out and fight her. The tide of war had changed, but Joan was captured by the allies of the English. In an attempt to escape, she jumped from a tower into a moat, but was knocked unconscious and was lucky to be dragged out alive. The English bought her from her captors and trialled her for witchcraft, blasphemy, and immodesty for wearing men's clothing. She was burnt at the stake in May the 30th, 1431. She asked a monk to chant for her so she could hear heavenly words above the crackles of the flames. It was said that her heart was found intact in the ashes. Joan's spirit lived on, and the French, with a new national pride, defeated the English. Nearly 500 years later, in 1920, Joan of Arc was recognised as a saint by the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. It's a very interesting book, and it goes on to sort of a more modern history, going on to Abraham Lincoln, on to Marie Curie, Florence Nightingale, Emmeline Pankhurst, Henry Ford, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein, and then moving on to not so great people in history like Adolf Hitler, and then the wonderful Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and so on. So, your first assignment is to simply take your book home, and I'd like you all, please, to read the first 15 pages. Whether you make notes or highlight is entirely up to you, but just simply have a read. Okay, this has been a really nice first day of class, and I look forward to spending the upcoming weeks and months with you guys learning history. Okay? Perfect. Thank you, and I'll see you in our next lesson. Bye. Have a great day.